get into our wow next. The wow is the word of the week, and this week it is grit.
So the definition of grit is a sustained passion and perseverance, or especially long-term goals. Okay, so just saying that a person who has grit, doesn't give up easily in the midst of a challenge that they're faced with. And so I think this is an awesome word for us right now, especially with COVID and stuff, and, leaving corporate to come to a position like this.
Yeah,
that takes grit, just looking at your long-term goals and what you want for yourself. And then grit in our situation of being business owners and just knowing that we have the passion and perseverance to keep moving forward, no matter what gets in our way as business owners. But as athletes, I think this word is so important because our ultimate goal is to help everyone live like an athlete. And you should live like an athlete for life. It shouldn't be just in your, high school career or your collegiate career. Like, you should carry that on with you. And so I think, now more than ever, people just want instant gratification, instant results, instant this, just with social media and everything. We get everything so fast. And so this really makes you sit down and look at the bigger picture, and focus on that determination that it's going to take you to get where you want to go. And so I think as athletes, that is just seeing the bigger picture of how being an athlete and living like an athlete helps you with your health overall for the rest of your life, not just, I want to lose 10 pounds in a month. And then when you don't achieve it, give up on yourself. And so I just think looking at the big term of things that will help develop that grit and make you push forward.
Yeah, I think also, grit to me is almost like grit and grimy, right? So it's like doing the hard shit that you have to do that you don't necessarily want to do to achieve that goal. So it in my mind, I always picture like the stadium steps that it took in high school and college, the 5 a.m., 6 a.m. strength and conditioning sessions that it took to ultimately, get to the end, the championship, which is the goal, right? Mm-hmm. If you have a gritty team, you have a team that's willing to do the hard work and willing to do all that. And I think that's where our team is. And I think that amongst amidst this year, whatever COVID has thrown. If you have not been listening before, that is what some call a Tylerism. And so I have like 9 different words that I'm trying to. One of them is right, and I just have to pick out the one that's right.
But sometimes it ends up being right, and I'm like, how the hell did they know that was
right? Because my vocab works really weird in my head.
It does.
I don't know why, but sometimes I have an idea of a word, but that general idea of the word doesn't always narrow down to the actual word. But that's besides the point. During COVID, I think that it's taken a lot of grit to continue to live like an athlete, to continue to train, to continue to do the things that you want to do. Not everybody wants to, especially, during quarantine and during those things, not everybody wants to get up and train in the middle of their living room or, and there's a lot of people doing that right now, which I have a shout out to those people in a little bit. But the grit that it takes to get the job done when it's something you don't want to do, that is ultimately what defines grit and defines whether you're living like an athlete and you're gritty in that regard. But it's funny because like living like an athlete, there's so much benefit to doing the things that you don't want to do and making that a habit because they're things that need to be done. Mm-hmm. And there you're going to be so much more successful when you do the things you don't want to do that need to be done versus only doing things that you want to do when you want to do them and not getting, and those ultimately aren't going to lead to the higher succession. You may get lucky and do the things you want to do and turn the corner, be successful for a little bit. But to be ultimately successful in life, to push your body to the limit, to train successfully, you're going to have to train during days where you don't want to train. And that's grit. You're going to have to, do leg day when you don't want to do leg day. And that's kind of the grit that we're talking about. So that's an awesome word of the week. So this week, like every week, take some action steps in kind of recognizing what needs to be what takes grit in your life to do, and kind of working on continuing those things. And I think if you recognize the grittiness in yourself, then you can ultimately continue to thrive during that time, and continue to tell yourself that those things that you're doing are ultimately worth it. And I think that that's the biggest importance and the action steps that we can take this week with our wow. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times grit, and that's again, like I think back to when I was playing high school and college sports. There's a lot of times you don't want to get up and practice, and even today, there's a lot of times I don't want to train that day, and there's a lot of excuses you can make, but ultimately, training, getting that done, that's where all the benefit comes from. So.